Hello, everyone. It is me. I know I was supposed to be here yesterday, but I was having, I had to drop some items off and do some gift exchanges and all that kinds of stuff like that. Always doing business. I have another business where I actually make physical items. It's I've had it with my now ex-wife. 8 years we've had the business. 8 or 9. We're coming up on our 10th year anniversary of the corporation, so I probably would do something big that year. Um, Maybe I'll do half price everything that year or something big like that. Uh, but anyway, that's what I was doing. Um, Also hanging out with family and friends, and so I wasn't able to go down south to my family because it's just so much going on. So I met with my family up here, and we had a good time. I didn't read yesterday, but I'm coming now, and we're still doing the Angry Book. It's one of the best books. If you don't have any other book in your library, I know a lot of these blockheads will come on and tell you to read all these crazy things. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, um, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and 48 Rules of Power, all this garbage. But you need these books here. You need books that are going to settle your mind. By the way, since 2020, when I recognized that black folks didn't want to be free, I don't want to say didn't want to be free, but weren't interested in concepts, because I was building everything for that, um, and we had the chance to do it, and we didn't do it. I've been getting into all these other things, really, not gimmicks, but stocks and things like that, and the stock market is hitting again. A lot of my stocks is up like 40%. It's no magic pill. It's no you're gonna be a millionaire. It's investing every week a little bit, grinding, and then you get little residual checks and things like that, and grinding. But anyway, that's something maybe we'll discuss tomorrow. Um, yeah, maybe I'll discuss that tomorrow. Economics, do real economics, and I'm gonna talk about stocks and state lotteries. Okay, with or without justice. Again and again, people ask, I was right, wasn't I? It was right to get angry, wasn't it? Asking whether or not anger is justified is especially common with former don't make waivers. We are just beginning to make waves. Justice and justification simply has no bearing on the angry issue. Getting angry is neither right nor wrong. People who seek justification are attempting to rationalize or to excuse their anger because they don't quite accept it. Getting angry, like getting hungry, is a human phenomenon and neither needs an excuse for being. If someone is hungry, he is hungry, and the fact that he is just eaten does not mitigate his hunger. The same is true for anger. If he is angry, regardless of any right or wrong issue involved. There is simply no right or wrong or moral equivocation here. If there is misunderstanding or irritation or frustration, then there is no justification or lack of justification for it. We can always cite as many reasons or factors to justify a particular angry feeling or act that as we can do to declare it unjustified. It all depends on the point of view and a particular frame of reference. But no amount of justifying or intellectualization will clear the air and repair communications, as will simple expressions of anger. Once anger is felt, it is felt, regardless of the state of justice in which it occurs. Once it is felt through, expressed, and exchanged, unfettered and undiluted by excuses for being, then its causes and elucidation thereof may be valuable in terms of insight regarding one's relating or the particular relationship involved. Meaning, we're all angry. And I mean, I know what he's saying, but I do think anger is justified sometimes, but that's not the only way. When you're pursuing justice, because what you're really pursuing is fairness. And anger is just you anger at the injustice, but you still have to do something. That's why so many people say, hey, you guys are complaining about you guys are complaining about housing, you guys are complaining about this or that, but what are the solutions? And if you're a justice warrior, you will put forth solutions. Matter of fact, that's basically what you're doing at this point. We all know what the problems are. So if you still have to point out the problems to people, they're not interested in fixing it or helping you fix it. I mean, we know all the books have been read, all the studies have been done. They've been put on, even the corporate news even puts on the reality of our situation. So that's that. Don't waste your time with people who are still need to be explained what the problems are. Which I don't think there's that. I don't think no one's left who doesn't know what the problems are. Unless maybe you're a child. Even children know what the problems are. Unless you have mental deficiencies. But I think at this point, it's so horrible in this society, even they know what the problems are. That there's problems at least. Appropriate and inappropriate. Anger seems inappropriate only when we don't understand it. If it is appropriate to the situation on hand, we usually understand and usually judge it to be appropriate. When its intensity appears to be proportionate to the stimulus, we usually deem it as appropriate. When there is no apparent reason for anger and when it seems much more intense than a situation calls for, then we usually look upon it as disproportionate and inappropriate. However, anger is always appropriate. It may be appropriate to a source that is mysterious or unknown to the observer, but in terms of that source, it is appropriate. I like, oh, you gotta love this, because I'm angry. It may be appropriate to a source that, okay, we did that one. Once that source is disclosed, then anger appears appropriate to the observer too, if you're thoughtful. This is true of all human emotional response. They may seem to be irrational in terms we are all acquainted with and call rational. But all responses, however irrational, do have a rationale or meaning. However, hidden or complicated that meaning may be. A schizophrenic patient may, in our terms of making sense, make no sense when he talks. But if we spend great effort and time to learn his language, a special kind of logic will usually come to light. Anger that seems inappropriate and disproportionate to a given situation is very often hooked to past, hidden slush fund sources. Great inappropriate looking rages are often due to some old, raw, sore spot that is inadvertently graded by a seemingly small present day incident. Karen Horney, in her various works, brilliantly described reactions to hurt pride and thwarted claims. Angry reactions at hurt pride can be quite obscure. For example, there are some people who get angry because they let themselves go or dare to love. This goes against the pride invested in not capitulating and loving. The result may be loving and feeling good and feeling angry all at the same time. Neurotic pride invariably covers up great feelings of inadequacy and self-hate. Any hurt that to that pride threatens a denouement and the possibility of facing one's hated self. Being stripped by anyone in this way and thus being terribly humiliated evokes not only rage, but also breaks upon the storehouse of self-hate, which may also be converted to outer rage. I remember a man who nearly killed another man who jokingly asked if he was impotent. The second man had no idea that his questions released in the first enormous self-hate and rage that had their basis in long-standing feelings of sexual inadequacy and possible impotency. The enraged man had always covered up his feelings with great pride, invested in sexual conquest and prowess. Dr. Horney describes thwarted neurotic claims as a source of intense anger. I must say that these reactions are exceedingly common. We see them very often in psychiatric treatment. People have desires. Somehow neurotic people convert these desires to claims. I would like this or that becomes you owe me this or that. When the claim is not fulfilled, rage ensues. Following it as an example of a claim and reaction from my own practice and described in the Winner's Notebook. My patient was a very shy physician. He and his wife were at a party where drinks and food were placed on a large center table. Guests were seated around the room and could help themselves when they desired. My patient got thirsty and thirsty, but was too shy to get up and get a drink. It's his problem. On the way home, he suddenly pulled the car to the curb and in great anger yelled at his wife, "You and your lousy friends, they wouldn't even give a guy a drink." What happened here? Dr. X had a desire for a drink, and because of his shyness, he wanted someone to get the drink for him. In this way, he wouldn't have to get up, and he wouldn't have to come face to face with his shy problem. This desire became a claim. His host owed him knowledge that he did not want to get up, saving him from his problem. The service of bringing him a drink, since none of his debts were paid, he was enraged, especially because his pride was hurt and he came face to face with a part of himself he hated and kept hiding. In terms of his neuroses, his disproportionate anger was appropriate. His wife did not understand what it was all about, especially since the people at the party were his friends and not hers at all. In this connection, let me add that if someone really blasts you for what seems utterly inappropriate, listen carefully. You will probably learn a good deal about the person doing the blasting. Let's do this short one here. By the sex. There is no sexual discrimination in anger. Members of both sexes are equally capable of getting angry and expressing anger. Yet some people have very confused ideas about this. Among those I've heard personally are the following. Big angry displays are not feminine. Big angry displays are only feminine and are not masculine. I've heard that one. Gentlemen simply don't show anger. Ladies must not get angry at gentlemen. Gentlemen must not get angry at ladies. I've heard that one. You shouldn't fight with women and stuff like that. Very loud, angry displays are evidence of homosexuality. I don't know if I've ever heard that. Oh, I guess I've heard that. They're saying that men are being too emotional. Of course, all of this is patent nonsense. Members of both sexes get equally angry, are equally expressive, and get angry at members of the same or the other sex. So that's the angry book. We'll come with another book next week. I think what I'm going to start doing with these classes, with these videos, is see if I could turn them into classes for another platform, which is going to be sneaky and tricky, but we'll see. Because right now, if I'm doing a class, I study it on its own, I read it on its own, and I do the class. But I'm actually doing classes here, talking about these books and reading from them. But we'll see. I may have to do it this way. I might have to do it another way. I'm not sure. But I appreciate you being here. If you want to support the podcast, you know what to do. Hit the links. give directly, or become a sponsor. Tomorrow I'll be answering questions. Nobody's sending me questions, but I'll be answering some questions. Maybe I'll answer a question on economics. I'm going to do an economics thing, and I'm going to show you why in our society the state lottery and the stock market has become the only stable or I shouldn't say the only, but the most stable sources of income that we have. I'm going to make the argument. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and be safe.